Hey guys, it's Mo in the deep end. Pray for me now and at the hour of my interface. We are here to finish up day two morning session of William William Zelenski versus the state of Wisconsin, the lizard trial. It is all the Walmart swap meet tawdriness that you could just deal with at your family's dysfunctional reunion. Uh, Murph's Turf has done an awesome job of getting a bunch of, like, graphics and things together so we can keep Who's Who in the Zoo going. We left off right at the morning break, so I'm gonna make sure that we come back. He's doing a lot of eating his hands, which is always good. I'm trying to see when the oh, yeah, baby cop. No, this is new cop. Oh, Lord. I believe I had it set up correctly, and then I decided, "No, I'm gonna futz around because, course I did." So let me get it up there because, of course, I futzed around with it and made it ridiculous. So let's see, here we go. Let's see where exactly we are. So it looks like we're still on the morning break, and they're starting to come back. Oh, that hairpiece. Oh, that is a lot of hairpiece right there. Okay. It must be like the other trials where they only put the sound on when they're back in, but it's hard to tell when they're technically back in because they start the doggone did I do that? Possibly not. No, I did not. I've been trying to keep up with Twitter and every other thing, but I did not. I can actually put it in there. In 2 seconds. Let's see if this will ever start being court again. Because I can't tell because they don't stand for oh, okay, other people stood. For cereal, for super cereal, he definitely could, in fact, get a better doggone
We will go back in the record. You may call your next witness.
of course, my Discord goes straight to, smexily explicit as the default. Y'all know I'm a degenerate. It's not like I've lied to you about it. It's no it's not as though I have been quite quiet about my proclivities. I have 6 children, y'all. It's not like we're all confused as to what happened. Well, I mean, my husband and I were for a little bit, but it's we figured it out right before our unholy 6th child came in because it is what it is. Let's see if we get something new. It looked like we had, older brother cop coming in. So, ladies, eye candy. Although he looks like he's
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
straight out of Central Casting cop from Hot Fuzz.
And nothing but the truth, so help you God. You may have a seat.
Sergeant, could you state your name and spell it
Yes,
last?
Mike Elaine, Mike.
Daniel Wazard, last name Wasrud.
And as I kind of already alluded, how are you employed?
I'm a patrol sergeant with the Wapaka Police Department.
I also tap dance on the side.
Have you worked as sworn law enforcement?
Yes.
It'll be 8 years in August.
It was that or public
And
restrooms, we're not quite sure.
Were you employed with the Wapaka County Police Department in October of 2020?
The City Police Department, yes.
And around that time, were you involved in at least partially in
Oh, Grandma's still
a
angrily
report of
chewing.
a
Let's.
theft from a vehicle.
That's correct.
What were the circumstances of that?
I believe the defendant, Bill Zelenski, had reported theft of items from his vehicle. He had reported that
All right.
previously to
So, quickly, like a 10-second, 1 minute kind of review of this case in case you are new and just stumbled upon my channel. Hello, I am Mo in the Deep End, a mom of 6 who vaguely stumbled into doing her own YouTube commentary, layperson's analysis of trials. And it keeps me off the street and slinging LuLaRoe. So it's good for all people except Mr. Mo, who has to be my technical support. This particular case is the first case in our What in the Walmart trial series. I am doing a deep dive into the Delphi case, but for funsies, when I can and when there's a trial appropriate, put it down in my community tab somewhere along the YouTubiness. I don't know where I'm supposed to point, honestly. Honest to God, guys. This is a duct tape and prayer sort of operation. Put a link or something that you want to look at in the community section, and I will try to follow up with it if I have the time. As a mom of 6, I don't have as much time as I thought I do. I will try to get to it, and we will what in the Walmart together. This particular case is William Zelenski, formerly known as Wild Bill, a purveyor of exotic stolen reptiles and other things. Well, I mean, he didn't get them stolen, but he had them stolen. That is the start of the story. Him and his side piece and his wife were all together trying to figure out who could have done stole these lizards and crocodiles and such. And side piece's son is implicated in the theft, along with his friend who has been uh, jailed for it at this point, convicted. They go to confront side piece's 20-year-old son. Now, according to the defense, some, scuffling happened, and okay, the side piece's son, Riley, got shot and died. This is all of the shenanigans. Basically, almost the entirety of the state's witnesses have been involuntary guests of the state, if you will. There's a lot of method acting, if you will. Read between the lines. Apparently, YouTube does not like that word. But there might be a lot of unlicensed street pharmaceuticals being produced and chemistried in this particular story. And we left off in the morning with Baby Cop, who looked like he was about to puke. I felt bad for him. It looked like it was, according to him, I think it was the first week he didn't have, daddy officer. Don't clip that. I mean, he didn't have his, older brother officer in there. Yeah, he's working on his beard. He's rabbit, 6 years in. He gets to have a beard. But, yeah, so we are just going through. Hopefully, they will show us some kind of body cam because the last guy, they just talked through the body cam. And then I will be finishing up this morning, and then tonight at 7, Salvador will probably be with me, and we will be kind of speed running the afternoon. This gives me kind of an open afternoon. Believe me, even Court TV is like, "Is this in Florida?" No, it is not. It is in what we like to call North Florida or the murder mittens of America. I include uh, Michigan in there, so there are paramittens, but yes. Yeah, it is all of the insanity plus a swap meet. This morning, if you are going to be part of the rewatch crew, we saw the prosecutor who looks disturbingly like Kathy Bates at the beginning of Misery, uh, brandishing her pimp cane with an impaled through the back end frog on it. It Listen, of all the hillbilly insanity, Walmart at 3 a.m., Waffle House at 1 a.m. things, this case has it all.
Officer Muskie.
And at some point, did you meet with Bill and Tiffany to discuss the complaint?
I did.
Also, today's
I
mug
am going
or
to
tumbler.
show you what it will be.
If I show them on stream, they're technically a tax write-off.
The file title.
At least
is
that's what I'm telling Mr. Mo.
43
Y'all back me up.
Axon Flex 2 video 2020 10/19 2148 as a date and a time, and then parentheses Wazir, North Main. And I'm going to ask you if you can identify this.
The prosecution has also endeared itself to my heart because
Let
they
me just
seem to
ask,
have as many
Chris, can you
technical
identify it, or-
issues as
Yes.
this
No,
particular
that's my
chick
body camera.
does.
It's your body camera.
Correct.
So when you had that meeting with Bill and Tiffany, you were wearing a body camera.
Correct.
And do you see the date and the time displayed?
Yes.
And it's my understanding that these default to UTC, is that correct?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you able for us to convert that to Central Standard Time?
I love how this lawyer's like, look, you math. I'm the lawyer. I didn't.
I believe I started my recording around 9:48 p.m.
Okay. Another officer testified that you would subtract 5 hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And would that also bring you back a date from 10/20 to 10/19?
Yes.
Almost seems like just showing the time would be helpful, but
I'm going to play a portion of the video from 48 seconds. Or starting at 48 seconds.
listen, the front hair sticking up must just be a Wisconsin trend right now because the last cop had it. This guy has it. Our defendant has the front hair spike that was popular during the early aughts. So go watch American Pie, I guess. I don't know.
You said you saw something maybe on like Facebook or Snapchat or something. Do you have this? She actually flew off.
So let me just pause here. Can you identify the two?
Y'all, this man does not have a t-shirt. This man is me. All you need is Jesus. You know, that could happen, but look, it looks like they are struggling just enough. And like that mask is going to help with anything with a beard. But I love that he has y'all need Jesus on his t-shirt before he goes just, you know, it's almost like Dirty Harry and Jerry Springer had a child that they never recognized and they raised it in the forest. That is this trick.
Yes, I'm speaking with Bill Zelenski and Tiffany Powell.
And where are you located?
In front of Bill's address on Main Street, 111 North Main.
How did this meeting get arranged?
And that is the front hair
I
spike
received
that I was talking
information
about.
that
So
Bill was
this
looking to speak with
right,
someone. He had some
yeah,
additional
right in front,
information
like
about
Philip
the
J.
theft
Fry
that he
from
wanted
Free
to speak with
Trauma.
officers about. So I called Bill and asked that he meet with me, and we set the location of the Main Street address.
So I apologize. I stopped for the record at 53 seconds. I'm going to resume playing.
Log into Riley's Snapchat. Okay. That's what she did.
That was the name of the Cajun family because I kind of like them because they're all, you know, Cajun and they just wear their dysfunction out loud and in all caps. But, you know, as I really don't like alligators, I think I'd be okay shooting one too, allegedly in Minecraft. And the idea of me getting on a swamp boat to go shoot, these are things that are not going to happen.
So we have these pictures that Ashley did.
Sir, how are you smoking with a mask on? Oh, and I know, just more stopping, but the lovely woman who is there in the paper mask not covering her nose, that would be side piece Tiffany. Now, Tiffany's son Rowan is at home with Wild Bill's wife because she's babysitting. I don't know if we were just testing out the sister wives thing or what was going on there, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm getting to that one. So I just Snapchat. So this is a picture of where the bottle was sitting at my place. Okay.
Oh, and they stole a bottle of Patron too. God love them. These prosecutors are bad as I am at tech.
So that green gin bottle is from my rec house. And they've got a handgun there, but it's not one they took from me. Yeah, we found that one. It's actually a big cash. Yeah, and so that's the bottle that clued us in. We got a tip from Mackenzie McGraw. Yeah. She said that, hey, they were asking 3-4 days ago if someone would give them a ride out to your place to rob you. Her sister Madison was approached to give them a ride.
Stopping at 1 minute 48 seconds. So what was going on during that period of time?
In the video, Bill was showing me pictures from Riley's Snapchat. I believe they were screenshots.
I know
or he
his
had taken
Tanqueray,
his
and
phone
there
on
was
another phone.
there was actually a bottle of Patron in this case too. I believe that this is negative advertisement for
I'm going
Patron
to
at
show
this
you
point.
what previously had been marked in Exhibit 14.
You know, if they have 3
Yes,
lawyers over at the prosecution table, one should be in charge of the tech.
Do you recognize this?
Yep.
Does this appear to be, well, what is it?
It's one of the photos from Riley's Snapchat that was shown to me that night.
Okay.
Okay,
And,
you guys, do not Snapchat,
there was a discussion
Instagram,
about a
Facebook,
gun.
YouTube, freaking Polaroid your crimes, people. I feel like this shouldn't have to be said, but Wisconsin, do better.
Is this the same
Yes.
one?
Oh, for the love of Cheetos.
Did you?
They look super hoard.
Were you able to locate this before you spoke with Bill?
You know, thank God all the stupid stuff I did was before phones that had cameras attached. It happened because, I mean, I didn't do anything that stupid, but there was a lot of stupid done in Mo's younger days. And I'm glad we don't have proof of it.
That's correct. The gun was located earlier when we made an arrest on Riley for his warrant. It was sitting on a table in his residence. We checked it, and it was determined to be a BB gun or a pellet gun.
And you told that to Bill, right?
I did tell Bill.
Was when you met with Bill, was he aware that Riley had been previously arrested that night?
He was aware of that.
And did he ask you any follow-ups about whether he was still in custody?
Yeah, I was asked if Riley was going to be released by Tiffany. I advised Tiffany that.
But Murph, are we really shocked? I mean, the prosecution has given people the wrong information, just all the wrong things. The prosecution doesn't even know what the heck they're doing half the time.
Had
It
been arrested
seems
for a
like.
warrant, however, due to COVID.
Yeah,
the
he
jails were
looks
releasing people with a
young,
new
but not
court
as
date.
young as
So
baby
I
cop before
told her
him.
that at
He
some
looks
point he
like
would be
older
released, but I
brother
was not
cop,
sure at
middle
what time.
brother. So there's 3 brothers. This is middle brother. The cop before was baby cop. Hopefully we get to see the older brother for those of us of a certain vintage. And they, saying a silver fox lawyer or officer would be just fine.
And I'm going to
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the afternoon with.
the video again at
Oh, he does a little.
0 seconds.
I assume Riley and Ashton are in custody. No. Questioning.
Okay, so that is Riley's mother, Tiffany, talking to the police.
So Ashton had some more.
Pausing it at 15 minutes and 14 seconds. Were you able to hear what Bill said?
I believe he said, "Oh shit."
And in response to being told that Riley's going to be released from
He
custody?
does
That's
have
correct.
cartoon eyes. And then
Did
perpetually
he,
bewildered expression. So
express any
I can see
concerns
Homer
about,
Simpson.
his safety?
No,
Uh,
not
Let me
with.
clarify. Did Bill express any concerns about his safety given that Riley was being released?
No, not with Riley being released. There was no comments made like that.
Well, yeah, but I don't think.
And
The defense is.
playing at 15-14.
But because of COVID, they won't pick up on him, and Riley had one through New London, but he's getting issued a citation or something like that. I'm not sure if the county is gonna question them or not as far as their involvement, because they were there too, county was out with us.
Yeah.
when we were over there,
The
so.
county, well, through dispatch, the county's, because of course, the city officer's not working, that,
Yeah.
the report.
Yeah.
The county officers aren't working. And
Yeah.
on vacation, and that was, so there was no one to respond, and I said, well, I gotta find these animals quick.
Yeah. I know they went out and checked a couple of addresses, I believe some of Ashton's family members, they've gone out and checked.
Budgeted 15 minutes and 40 seconds.
Now, again, big ups to Murph's Turf because she was telling me that her brother uh, deals with exotic reptiles and things like that. And some of the animals that were stolen were quite poisonous and venomous. Again, y'all, all I see is two methodly acted people putting reptiles down their pants. And I'm sure that's not how the heist went, but that's how I'm envisioning it in my mind. Or with like pillowcases. I don't see forethought about the potential lethality of these animals being any part of the plan.
Do you know what Bill was referring to when he said that there were neither city or county officers available?
Correct. The officer that took the theft complaint from his vehicle on Main Street, Officer Muskie, it was not working. It was two different rotations work in the city. And then the county deputy that took the initial theft report from his residence in the county was also not working at that time. So that's,
Good
I believe,
Lord.
what he was commenting about there.
Well, it seems as though
Did
he
he seem
asked
frustrated
you
to you
all to
about
take
that?
care of it.
Perhaps slightly.
So I'm stopping the portion of the video at 15 minutes and 48 seconds. And I'm going ahead to 17. I'll be starting at 17 minutes and 10
Yeah,
seconds.
well, I don't think we were dealing with rocket surgeons, if you will. More like
But if
the
they're gonna be
chimps they
released,
set
I
out in
guarantee
space
they're gonna find a way
first.
to go snatch all the evidence.
Yeah, it depends on where it is, so.
Well, and we don't know the addresses where they stash it. We know his address, we know,
Yeah.
I'm stopping the video at 17:23. I'm not sure why the video is not syncing up with the audio. I'm going to start replaying at 17 minutes and 10 seconds.
This man is me
tonight, guarantee they're gonna
starting
find a
to
way go
sweat,
snatch
trying to
all the
figure out
evidence.
why the hell the audio isn't there.
Stopping at 17 minutes and 14 seconds. We'll proceed with does the audio sound correct to you?
It does.
Can you identify who's speaking?
Bill Zelenski.
Going to continue from 17 minutes and 14 seconds.
Yeah, it depends on where it is, so.
Well, and we don't know the addresses where they stash it. We know his address, we know, Danielle's address, but we don't know, Ashton's other addresses.
Yeah.
So I guess we can try to find out unless the officers already know and are checking those addresses. But
I think the county was checking some of them, I don't know how far they made it down their list as far as.
because even if they're not in the county, what if it's in Atherton? I don't know.
Yeah.
If they can
I'm going to pause it at 17 minutes and 44 seconds just to acknowledge that the video has begun again. And I need to stop having notifications.
call someone to check closing on, but they took a 20-gallon long fish tank, so it's a fish tank like this big with the diaper.
Oh,
They don't take
okay.
the diaper out, they took the whole
Well,
enclosure.
so, I feel a little better that they took a 20-gallon fish tank to put all the deadly critters in. A little better, though. Yeah, seriously. I would go in and well, no, look, y'all, to be honest, if I had a male co-partner, dudes go in before me. Look, God made you bigger and stronger. You take care of deadly ass critters. I will stay back here and silently encourage you, which is why I am not an officer because I don't have that kind of mentality to kind of run in unless it's my children. And even then, I'm like, get your dad here. We're just going to lock it in the basement. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mr.
And then
Mo.
they took like Rubbermaid tubs with a bunch of pythons. So, it's enough bulk that they couldn't do it without a vehicle.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like catching them and trying to get restitution, they will never in their lifetime have enough money for restitution.
Yeah.
So
Do you know what he's referring to when he says that?
Yeah,
In regards
okay,
to the
so guys,
restitution, he's talking about the cost of the
I had no idea that some of these, like, critters go for basically the price of a car. I had no idea, and Salvador knows more about all the critter people and the critter things, so he will be joining me to he will be joining me to kind of react to the afternoon so I can have some family time, get some laundry done. Because Lord knows these children make all the laundry. Yes, I will have your back way back. That is my ongoing motto in any disaster. Like, I am cool to stay home in the kitchen and feed, you know, the army. don't, don't make me go to the front line. Yeah, I know it's pretty small, but I still look in my mind, it still plays out like they just shoved a bunch of wild animals in their pants and up their shirt and tried to run the heck out. That's just how it happened in my mind. As a juror, I would be terrible.
reptiles and snakes that were allegedly stolen from him by Riley.
Apologize, just one moment. I apologize. I'm just getting rid of some distracting notifications.
I'm terrible at technology. Sir will allow it today. You are in like company. I would say if he's anyone from The Simpsons, he would be Barney Gumble to me. But that's just me.
So the video was paused at 18 minutes and 10 seconds, and we'll resume.
die.
Yeah.
If they sell to somebody else who can take care of them, the book might will kill a guy.
Yeah.
So in the wrong hands, that's a problem.
Yeah.
With those kids, it'll be the wrong hands.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's our concern, is getting the animals back to a safe place.
Yeah.
I don't know what else we can do if you have any ideas. But
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head. I'll kind of touch base with the county and see where they're at.
So I'm doing kind of mental math, but this was maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes before the incident. But, I mean, it is showing, and I think the defense will use this to their credit, that is showing that he is being calm and logical. He's not like, "I'm out hunting for these jackbots, done stole my lizards." I mean, he's being very practical, like, "Look, these could be considered dangerous weapons. If you have these, poisonous snakes, a python, or one of those constricty things." Look, y'all, if it's about reptiles, I do not stop the Discovery Channel. I'm just gonna be honest. or the crocodile. I mean, if anyone gets hurt, he feels like it would be on him. So it's really doing a good point to show that his mindset, if you look at it from the body worn cam, yeah, a Nile crocodile because these guys were flipping insane. So it does show, hey, they definitely he definitely didn't have like just a full vigilante kind of thing, or at least he hit it well enough with the cops.
I'll keep my cell phone on with, so you can call me anytime.
Okay, yeah, if something comes up, we'll definitely let you know.
And then myself in the county at my house.
Yeah, that's fine, just, during the daytime, you can drop it off, at least they'll make sure it gets to the musky, so.
I'm gonna pause right there, and back, that's at 1847. There was a little jump in the audio, so I'm gonna back up to 18 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, it does a really good job of
Yeah, that's
showing.
fine, just, during the daytime, you can drop it off, at least they'll make sure it gets to the musky, so.
Sounds good. Alright, and I guess he's off till what, Thursday?
Yes, I think Thursday they come back.
You know,
so.
he did not look.
The bank cameras, probably the drive-through bank and the other bank, if we put them together for the whole time frame, would probably catch him on camera.
Yeah.
And I would think that's good enough to get to the car, and once you get to the car, we couldn't tell what he's doing. Yeah. I was hoping. But he didn't take any evidence out of the car at all. I didn't know, Tom, they actually cut the cable on my gun lockbox.
Stopping it at 19 minutes and 15 seconds.
See, and I was over here gonna shame him that he left a weapon in his car. I know, I love like unintended irony. The shirt. But I do like I was wondering why he had firearms. I mean, even in your locked car, it just doesn't seem secure enough to me as far as having, a firearm in the house. I have it locked, I have it, but in the car, so it sounds like he had a locked box in his car. No worries. This guy's about ready to call his kid in to do this this interneting
I want
thing.
to describe what had been taken from the lockbox.
Yeah, there was a lockbox in his vehicle that had, I believe, handguns in it. It was mounted into the vehicle with I believe, a steel braided cable that was secured in the vehicle, and that had been cut.
At any point during this meeting, did Bill or Tiffany express concerns that Riley was armed?
No.
And I don't like this sleight of hand that the prosecutors seem to be doing where he was unarmed. If a person is middling methed out, and attacking you, yelling at you, let's fight, and you have a double barrel shotgun full of birdshot for reasons, but he starts messing with your weapon and starts trying to grab it out of your hands. I'm sorry, but if it doesn't matter that he didn't have a weapon to begin with, once he's holding your weapon, I believe that counts as he's in possession of your weapon at that time. If everything went down exactly as Wild Bill says.
And again, just to go back in the video, we heard them say that's our concern, getting the animals back to a safe place. Right.
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Russ.
Thank you, Runner. Officer Wesrud, just near the end of direct, you indicated that neither Bill nor Tiffany expressed concern that Riley was armed.
At that time, no.
But you were there to take a report about theft of firearms,
Correct.
and they were reporting
Yeah,
that Riley was involved in taking the firearms.
Correct.
So they
it's
expressed
almost like
at least
he
some concern that Riley
got
had taken their
weapons.
firearms.
Possession of the firearms.
Actually
Correct.
taken their firearms
Correct.
from his vehicle.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
And one of them, you said it was connected to the vehicle in a lockbox.
Correct.
And the lockbox had a cable.
Mhm. Yes.
That cable had been cut.
Yes.
And Bill explained to you that that's why he believed it was someone who knew where it was.
Yes.
Because they came prepared to take the gun.
Correct.
But yeah, those are some eyes. Those are some lamps on him.
An officer, you obviously have gone through some law enforcement training to be a sworn police officer.
Correct.
And this is the same police officer training that every other sworn police officer would take.
I believe so, yes.
Now, we saw that body camera, that was you meeting with Bill and Tiffany.
Correct.
And you said that that was arranged through a phone
Yeah,
call
it-
to Bill.
Correct.
Do you happen to know the exact time of that phone call?
I'm afraid I don't.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I'm providing to you what's been marked as exhibit number 15.
Okay.
Does that appear to be a phone call log?
Yes.
And directing your attention to, I believe it may be the.
I am trying to
6th or 7th
figure out
phone
if
call.
the
You
rest of the
recognize your
town
phone
that's
number,
not
right?
in the courthouse is
I believe
just
this is the phone number from the squad
a
cell
guest of
that
the
I was
state right
assigned
now.
at that time 3 years ago. Yes.
And that's when you had called Bill
Correct.
and asked him to meet you on Main Street.
I believe so, yes.
And that was on October 19th of 2020.
Yes.
And the time of that phone call was 9:42 and 59 seconds.
Correct.
Oh, we're gonna do some writing. Oh, he done wrote. Okay, could this have been a PowerPoint? I feel like, I mean, at least he has good handwriting. Y'all don't want to see what I would have written up there. Yeah. Yeah, it's becoming more. I'm changing my mind. I still think they all need all the detox, but I'm beginning to get swayed. Now, I'm sure Law and C Word has all the guilty and lock them away.
It's okay that I just use just your last name?
Yeah, that's fine.
So I wrote up here 9:42 and 59 seconds PM. Wazrud calls Bill to me.
Correct.
And that's accurate according to that phone call log?
Correct.
You know, if this is a tactic, so I just thought of it a different way. He keeps using this same timeline, and as he is going through the different witness, he's adding another point on the timeline. So maybe this was all strategery, because that's pretty cool if he thought of this as a way to kind of take the jurors along the chronological map of how this happened with witnesses who may or may not always be, kind of timed or brought in to testify at the same time in the story that they were, involved. So that's actually a really good idea.
And officer, you said that and we saw obviously portions of your body camera recording,
Yes.
and your body camera recording can be turned on and off.
Correct.
And obviously when there's nothing going on, you don't have it on.
Correct.
But when you're going to speak to someone, you turn it on.
In person, yes.
And so when you arrived at the Main Street location to speak with Bill, that's when you turned it on.
Correct.
So you turned it on right when you got there to meet with Bill.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to pull up on screen the very beginning of that.
Hmm.
And again, this was your body camera,
Yes.
and this is right when you turned it on.
No, there's a 30-second delay that goes back. So this is me in my vehicle. I get out, walk around, begin speaking to Bill, and then that's my activation time would be about
Unexhaustible.
30 seconds after this point.
So this is when
It
but
rises
the time
minutely
that we
and
see in
secondly like the
top
debt.
portion of that, that's when you actually arrived
I believe so.
to speak with Bill.
Yes.
Bill was already there.
Yes.
And you talked about the UTC, so that 2:48:05 is really 9:48 and 5 seconds PM.
I believe so.
They're like, we should have thought of this. I wouldn't have had to use PowerPoint.
I wrote
Well,
up
he better
there,
be as a wife and a
9:48
girlfriend.
5 seconds
That's a lot of
PM
feelings to
on Drew
listen
speaks
to.
with Bill.
Correct.
And that's accurate based on what we've just been saying.
Yes.
And when you would have ended that meeting with Bill, that would be when you would have turned off your body camera.
Correct.
Okay, so we're gonna go show you the very last, essentially screenshot of that.
Sure.
Okay, so that is the very end of that video. You can see that?
Yes, I can.
That would have been right when you turned off your camera,
Correct.
right after you got back in your squad car after meeting with Bill.
Yes.
We also see the timestamp out there.
Yes.
3:09 and 21 seconds,
Mhm.
which is really
10.
10:09 and 21 seconds PM.
Correct.
This lawyer's on top of it. He didn't even have to math. He's like, I wrote it down, which is what I would have to do. This officer looks perpetually confused. I don't
Okay,
know
so I
why.
wrote that
I know
on
he does. It's
here.
so annoying.
10:09, 21 seconds PM was Rude ends meeting with Bill.
Correct.
And that's accurate based on what we've just been talking about?
Yes.
I just want their office supply budget for reasons. I'm not going to play with highlighters, I promise.
Now, you indicated you work for the Wapaka Police Department,
Correct.
and you've been at least in law enforcement for 8 years in August?
Correct.
Has that always been with the Wapaka Police Department?
Yes, it has.
And you're aware that with respect to the Wapaka Police Department, there's jurisdictional issues.
Yes.
And so if issues happen within the city limits, that's sort of jurisdiction of the Wapaka Police Department.
Correct.
But outside the city limits, that's not your jurisdiction.
That's correct.
That would be, at least potentially, Wapaka County Sheriff.
Yes.
So when we heard on that body cam, you talking about the county, you were referring to Wapaka County Sheriff's Department.
Correct.
Ah, that makes
And
more sense.
specifically officers within the Wapaka County Sheriff's Department.
Yes.
Now, we heard on there that you told Bill that county was on scene.
Yes.
That was actually referring to Mill Street.
Correct.
County was on scene, meaning deputies from the Wapaka County Sheriff's Department were at Mill Street.
Correct.
They were involved in taking Riley into custody.
Yes.
You indicated to Bill that Riley had had a warrant,
Yes.
that he was being arrested on that warrant,
Yes.
would be issued a citation,
That's what I was told.
and then released regarding that warrant.
I believe so.
So nothing legally holding him there at that time from the city's perspective.
So
Correct.
the crazy thing is that if they had left him in there for the night so he wasn't hopped up on whatever he was hopped up on, and I'm guessing these cops know what middling hopped up looks like. If they had made him stay in the prison a little bit longer, he could potentially still be here. I mean, it's not the state's fault that they didn't know. I'm just saying sometimes letting people out, with citations is a bad idea.
But you told Bill as well that county might want to question him
Yes,
about the theft from his residence,
correct.
which was in the jurisdiction of the Wapaka County Sheriff's Department.
Yes,
Because obviously the Wapaka Police Department wouldn't question them on that.
correct.
The Wapaka County Sheriff's Department could potentially.
Yes,
And if they were going to question somebody, that might take some time.
potentially.
And when Riley was going to be issued the citation, you said because the jail didn't want to have somebody in the jail at that time because of COVID.
Correct.
And the jail is run by the Wapaka County Sheriff's Department.
Correct.
There's Wapaka County Sheriff's deputies there.
I don't know if they're actually sworn deputies or not. But there are sheriff's office employees do work in the jail.
And the Sheriff's Department is actually connected to the jail.
Correct.
And so if Riley was being taken to the jail and being released with a citation, if county wanted to hold him for questioning, he would have been kept there.
Potentially.
But he wasn't. That's
And
the
we heard you testify that you were unsure of what time Riley would get released.
Correct.
Because even sometimes issuing a citation could take some time.
Potentially.
And if there were other issues to discuss, that could take some time.
Correct.
And so
makes
it wasn't
sense.
as though he was going to be there and you knew within 30 seconds he'd be released.
Yeah, I would not know when he was released.
And that's what you told Bill.
Correct.
Bill knew that he was being placed into custody on Mill Street as you guys were talking.
I believe he knew that information prior to my contact with him.
That law enforcement was at Mill Street.
Correct.
But that Riley was being taken into custody at that time.
That I'm not sure.
During your meeting with Bill, he did express concern,
Regarding,
his animals,
yeah, he expressed concern regarding the animals and their well-being.
specifically concern for his animals' safety,
Correct.
Mhm.
worried that they could die,
Yes.
expressed a desire to get them back before they die.
Correct.
Some of those animals were venomous.
Yes, I believe so.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
them are venomous.
that's what I was told.
And I think
Good
we
Lord.
heard in the wrong hands, somebody could get really hurt.
Correct.
Those
Y'all,
animals could kill
if-
somebody.
Yes.
If you decide to engage in what we commonly call meth use, perhaps don't get together and steal a bunch of poisonous, venomous snakes. I can't help all of you, but let's make some better choices.
He didn't want the animals to die.
Yes.
He wanted to find out where the animals were.
Correct.
Now, we saw him in your discussion for at least.
Yeah,
a
it
period
is
of time.
convenient what the state gets into and
his
gets out
demeanor
of,
was
if
the
you
same throughout your
understand
conversation.
my meaning
Correct.
and my double entendre. Trying to be a
During the
little bit
parts
more
that we saw,
classy.
He didn't appear mad.
No.
He didn't appear angry.
No.
He didn't appear to be out looking to hurt somebody.
No.
Genuinely seemed concerned to get his animals back.
Correct.
And at that time, he had told you he believed Riley was involved,
Yes.
but he still wasn't mad.
Didn't make any comments that would lead me to believe that.
And in fact, his entire demeanor didn't suggest that he was mad in any way.
No, he was wearing the world's most awesome T-shirt
We
apropos,
heard
though.
that he believed the animals could be at Ashton's mom or dad's house.
Yes.
But he said, I don't know exactly where they lived.
Correct.
He didn't know the address.
Yep.
In fact, at one point in this video, we saw him ask you, do you have any ideas of what we can do
Yes.
to try to find the animals?
Yes.
I mean, the defense is doing a really good job
Now,
of
you were asked to clarify one of the things that you heard on
taking
your
away
body
this
camera that
being
Bill
sort of
said.
a retribution,
When you told him Riley would be released, I think your testimony was you
you
heard
know,
Bill
kind of
say,
thing.
"Okay."
Like, oh my
believe
gosh,
that's
he
what he
was
said,
out a
yes.
hunting this
And
man who done
Bill
stole his
told you
animals.
that if Riley was released, he was worried Riley would get rid of the evidence.
Correct.
That's
Destroy
it.
the
I'm
evidence.
asking Mr. Mo
I
for a
don't know if he
panic
clarified
room.
destroying or moving them or something along those lines.
He said,
No,
Riley
they are
would get
not
rid
as
of the evidence.
funny. And
Correct.
poor baby cop before him looked like he was gonna upchuck. So yeah, it was hard to watch him.
At no point during that conversation did Bill express any intention to hurt Riley,
Not to me, no.
to shoot Riley,
No.
to kill Riley,
No.
even to find Riley.
At that time, no.
He was wanting to find his animals.
Correct.
Yeah, it is really strange that every witness for the state and it's not in a recalcitrant, obnoxiously obtuse kind of way that was the Travis Rudolph trial where he's like, "I don't know. I don't those are the words that you said. I don't know. I agree, I guess." This is just them answering clearly. I mean, even some of the chicks from jail were real excited to be there. So it is kind of humorous to see these mild-mannered people just, like, destroying the state's
You
case.
indicated on direct that Bill didn't express concern that Riley was armed in any way, right?
No.
But he did tell you about a previous fight that they had had.
I don't know if he told me about a previous fight. I believe there were comments about Riley saying he wanted to fight Bill, but not an actual altercation.
And Bill had told you he said that previously.
Yeah, that was previous to any of the incidents of that night.
You testified earlier that there was some discussion about Bill saying something about restitution.
Yes,
And that restitution meant the
I know.
value of the animals.
correct.
And that Riley, if he took them, wouldn't be able to pay restitution back.
Correct.
Would explain why Bill wanted to find them so bad.
A potential reason, yes.
Find the animals.
Yes.
And we saw that your meeting with Bill was done at, I think that was 10:08-ish p.m.
When it concluded, yes.
Seems about right.
That wasn't your last contact with Bill that night.
It was not.
At some point, you went to Theta Care
Yes,
and you stood by with Bill.
correct.
At that time, to your knowledge,
They sent Bill to a
Bill
minute
wasn't
clinic?
informed that Riley had passed away.
No, I don't believe he was.
Bill said he hopes Riley is okay.
Yes,
Bill told you he cares about Riley.
I don't remember that quote exactly, but it's potentially could have said that.
If we pull that up on your body camera, would that help refresh your memory?
It could, yeah.
Because you also turned on your body camera when you were standing by with Bill
I did.
and during your time with Bill at the hospital.
Correct.
Mr. Policeman, don't lie. He's not asking you questions he doesn't know the answer to.
We're going to go to 33 minutes and 50.
Oh, yeah, okay, to be very honest with you, y'all, if I got to go to Germany, the amount of chocolate bars and all the fat snacks that I would be bringing home, look, my 600-pound life in me would have a date. I'm not kidding you. Like, all of the chocolate would be smuggled.
So it looks Looks like we'll start at 33 minutes and 57 seconds. Before we start, officer, this is your body camera,
It is.
and that's the one that you turned on.
Okay,
when you got
pretzels
to the
too.
hospital.
Y'all
Correct.
can tell I haven't
So
had a
we'll start
carb
at
in a
33
while. I'm
minutes,
like,
57 seconds.
pretzels. Them are my kind of people.
And we'll stop. And we stopped at 34 minutes and I think that's 7 seconds.
Y'all, is it just me or does he look better, kind of wild and unkempt than this particular look that he has now? I mean, the defendant.
Does that help refresh your memory?
It does.
That's Bill saying he cares about Riley,
Correct.
cares about Rowan.
Yep.
And he said, again, he hopes Riley's okay.
Yes.
And you were at the hospital standing by with Bill because Bill was getting his blood drawn.
Yes.
And then ultimately you transported Bill to the jail.
Correct.
You put
I wanna
Bill
know
back in
Bill's
the back
talk
of your squad
screen.
car
I did.
and drove him to the jail.
I did.
And before he got to the jail, Bill asked if there was any word on how Riley was doing.
Yes.
I don't have any further questions.
Redirect.
Yes, if we could be switched back to the input.
Have you learned to work your computer?
Sergeant, I'm bringing up again the prior body camera that we had reviewed on direct.
Okay, chat. Is it going to be they
and
weren't
this-
worried about him having a gun?
On cross, you were asked
Or-
about a situation where Riley wanted to fight Bill.
Correct.
I'm going to start the video at 8 minutes and 10 seconds.
He was mad because I kicked him out of here and told him to go.
So I'm pausing it right away. When he says he was mad, do you know who he's referring to?
He's referring to Riley, the victim.
Rehab, so I'm not gonna help him.
Sir, stop licking your lips like a lizard. What is wrong with you people?
He'll do it, so. You know. So then he said, come over here and fight me, you're on a big fight. And I said, I'm not gonna come over here and fight you. No matter what happens, it's not gonna be a winning situation for anyone. Yeah. So he's like, you better watch out, I'm gonna get you. So then he threatened me, and I'm like, well, what's he gonna do? Yeah. Then he came back.
And I'm stopping it at 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
She does look like she has several cats at home.
Do you recall that to be the conversation about the fight?
You
Yes.
are totally okay.
And
I understand.
Bill very clearly said fighting wouldn't be a good idea.
Correct.
There wouldn't be any good outcomes.
Yes.
And when he said he was threatened by Riley, what was his reaction? What did he show to you?
No change in demeanor.
He wasn't really concerned.
Didn't seem concerned to me.
Again, for those of us playing the at-home version of I'm a lawyer, situations are very different when you have a middling methed up, aggressive person coming at you, even though you are holding at low ready a double-barreled shotgun. There are things that change. Like, I would probably be all cool if someone said they were going to kick my butt on, the Twitters. It's different when you knock on my door and, at the middle of the night with no shirt on, asking to chat with me, okay? I love how the state does this. Like, he wasn't scared then. What are y'all talking about? How could he be scared when that little meth guy was going out to be crazy?
Nothing.
Mr. Hogan.
Hey, Your Honor, so this fight that Bill was telling you about where Riley had said, I'm gonna get you.
Yes.
It was that fight that led Bill to believe Riley was involved in stealing his firearms.
Potentially, I don't know if that connection was clearly established or if they were separate incidents.
You had asked him, or you were discussing.
Yeah,
why
that's
he thought
the
Riley was
thing.
involved.
Yes.
And that's when he told you about this fight.
Yes.
That's why he thought Riley stole from him.
It potentially could be.
And so this fight, when Bill's saying Riley told him, I'm going to get you, that was essentially before the firearms were stolen.
Yeah, potentially.
And so if he doesn't express concern before the firearms, it's because he had no reason to believe Riley.
Good job, defense lawyer.
In this conversation,
I'll sustain.
So Bill expressed when Riley said, I want to fight you, you said he didn't express concern.
correct.
And to your knowledge, that fight preceded the theft of his firearm.
I wouldn't know that.
But he said Riley told Bill.
Yeah, usually I shut the door. I'm going to have someone make me a sign
Potentially.
and a
That's
lock
what we heard that Bill told you, Riley said.
and a panic
"You want me
room
to fight
and a
you? Come
bunker.
fight me.
Yes.
Come out here and fight me.
Because I have gone to my HOA and my HOA's like, look, we are dead ass in the middle of central Indiana hillbilly land. And they want to put on airs. So I can't have a she shed. I can't have a ish barn. I can't even have a see you next Tuesday corral in my backyard. To have my own studio. So yeah, look, my HOA puts on a lot of airs for a town that doesn't have a Target or an Aldi's. Y'all don't know how many times I've been tempted, but I'm trying to be a good mom and be all gentle parenting
Yes.
until
Exactly.
Yes.
crazy mom is
Riley
activated.
said, I'm going to get you.
Yes.
Nothing further.
Just briefly, when you were speaking with Bill here and he made that, well, let me back it up and just,
For the love of all that is holy,
back up
yes,
the video
state, we
to
understand that he wasn't
8 minutes
afeared
and 20
then.
seconds.
Listen, y'all, I have come up with a plan. So this is the internet. So I'm sure. Look, my HOA is not fun. They are not cool people. They would not be on my stream anyways. But I broke my ankle about a year ago on my HOA's roads because they refused to light things. Now, granted, I have never been the most graceful person ever. And I did decide to walk, early morning to get my, steps in before the kids woke up. And I did, in fact, get startled by a deer and fall into a drainage ditch because of course I would. But that, break instituted, a pretty severe nerve disorder in my leg. Now, I don't want to sue the HOA because I am smart enough to realize that I will be basically suing myself because they will just put an assessment up. Like the most sucks assessment, like just to be pains in my ass. But if I could sue to successfully secede from the HOA or make them disband, I have had dreams of these things. I'm a weird dreamer, but it has happened. Sorry about the tangent, but that's just it.
So then he said, come over here and fight me, you're running a fight. And I said, I'm not gonna come over here and fight you. I mean, no matter what happens, it's not gonna be a winning situation for anyone.
Yeah.
So he's like, you better watch out, I'm gonna get you. So then he threatened me, and I'm like, well, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Then he came back.
So when he's talking to you now, this is after the theft of the firearms.
This is after the theft of the firearms.
Nothing further.
He's talking to you after the theft of the firearms. But you don't know when that fight took place.
It was a conversation about a fight, not an actual altercation.
You don't know when Riley made the threat, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, that's pretty much the exact reason I haven't sued. But on my bad days, like y'all, I love chat. I love this streaming thing. I love that, we have a community here between, Nicholas and David and, some of the bigger YouTubers that I'm totally not trying to fangirl when I'm in a panel with them, totally trying to act all cool and stuff. Because this year has been pretty hard, quite personally and quite honestly. Uh, I have to get a rascal for really bad days, where I can't walk. And that has been something that I have not dealt with very well. So I do I'll have all the petty patches. Yeah, believe me, and mine are full of the sad thing is I definitely thought that being a dumb, stupid person people would age out of it, and they wouldn't be dumb, petty high schoolers with cliques, but some people look, my petty is hilarious and good intentioned. Their petty is just dumb and drunk, but it is what it is. I'm just saying that in a roundabout way, thank you all of chat and people because it has not been an easy year. I am doing a lot better. Let me just say, losing leggings might have been a hard thing. I still want Nicholas to have a Viking funeral for, some leggings of mine. I'm gonna send them off on the lake in my subdivision and just light it on fire. I'll do it on 4th of July. They won't even notice. But, this has definitely been something that I love being a mom, I love being a wife, but something just for Mo is awesome. So even if I don't know technology, it's awesome.
I do not.
You don't know if that was before the theft of his firearm.
I don't know.
Okay.
You may step down. Is
He looks
Officer Wazoo
he looks like
released?
Randall from Recess, the kid that was always the, smarmy, like, hotel monitor, like, Miss Finster, or whatever her name was, they're plotting again. Yeah, he looks like a Randall.
You're not released. You need to hang around in the hallway. You're
Yeah.
still under the sequestration order.
Apparently, he is not released.
Have you heard about
No, thank you. Wonder if it's this one that they have. Yeah, they have a big old
Yes.
break for, I don't know, some sort of reason. Anymore, I'm like, these courts take all the breaks. Okay. See who this person is. And we have yet to figure out why he is in a wheelchair. I mean, I guess that's kind of
Seated.
jerky to go up and just say, "Why are you in a wheelchair?"
We will go back on the record. You may call your next witness.
Seriously. Well, I don't know who said it earlier today in this chat, but these are the only citizens, the people in the court gallery are the only citizens that aren't currently guests of the state, and they're just waiting to become guests of the state. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, really. That's why Mr. Mo got me this new computer because he's like, "You're just acting happier," and I was like, "Well, I try. It's been a tough year. I front loaded the first 6 months of this year with tough stuff. So here's hoping the last 6 months is like lotto and uh they find a chocolate cure for fluffiness. It could happen. I don't think they're awake. Prosecution seems to be like they just got this yesterday, it feels like. Or maybe other trials, they've just been really up on their stuff.
My name is Kevin Scott.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth.
Holy shit balls, y'all. We've got someone in a full daggone suit. That someone has broken a seal. Lucifer is a coming. This is all in Revelation. I don't know who did it, but we got a suit in here.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
May be seated, thank you.
And I even changed it to Revelation, not Revelations, though I'm in the Midwest and we add an S to every daggone thing.
Could you state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Kevin Scott. My last name is spelled Scott.
What is your profession?
I am a DNA analyst at the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory in Madison.
He's an
How long
out of
have you
towner.
been
No
employed
shoot.
as an analyst?
I've been there for about 10 years.
Okay, y'all, chat, if you guys know of Walmart, what in the Walmart style court cases, I totally want those to be able to Yeah, Wisconsin needs to maybe look at their tap water. I don't know what's going on there, but y'all need to make it make sense. And he does have the outline of an IT goatee, so I believe him in all science things.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as exhibits 39 and 40. Can you identify exhibit 39?
Exhibit 39 is a copy of my statement of qualifications, which is a crime lab document similar to a resume that outlines my position, education, and training.
What is your educational background?
I received a Bachelor of Science degree majoring in biochemistry from UW-Madison.
In what year?
Huh, maybe that's
I
it.
graduated in 2011.
And did you receive any additional training as it pertains to
Probably. I
forensic
mean, the way
DNA?
things are going.
Yes, when I was first hired,
I believe they got a DNA expert. So the defense, if you're on a rewatch crew, the first stream that I did this morning, the defense did a really good job of with their demonstrative and the medical examiner, where they showed where the decedent, where Riley had held on to the weapon and they found his DNA on it. So these are all things I want. Well, not beer. I'm not a big beer drinker, but I do love me some cider.
hired at the lab, I received approximately 1 year of in-house training that covered every aspect of DNA analysis that the
Also,
lab used.
y'all, so he had 1 year of in-house training. Baby cop got 90 days at a training thing and like 2 weeks with another officer. And we wonder why we have so many issues with police. If you like the teddy bear look and he's nicely spoken, I wish he would work on the beard just a little bit, but it looks like it's a growing in. So no comment. I don't think so. I know, what the heck is the only thing that needs to happen is Billiam to go up there and say he was scared.
Uses. In addition to that, I receive at least 8 hours of extra training every year.
Well, at least 8 hours, honest to God.
What are your duties and responsibilities as a DNA analyst?
So as a DNA analyst, I examine crime scene evidence for the presence of bodily fluids, such as blood, semen, or saliva. I then attempt to extract or release DNA from those bodily fluids or from any other source of DNA, such as skin cells from touched items. I then attempt to generate a DNA profile from those items. I then analyze those DNA results and make comparisons to known standards taken from individuals thought to be involved in the case. I will then prepare a written report of my results and conclusions.
And what is a technical review?
So every report that comes out of the crime lab will be technically reviewed or peer reviewed by another DNA analyst in order to ensure that both analysts, both myself and my reviewer, come to the same conclusions.
So, can you identify Exhibit 40?
Exhibit 40 is a copy of the DNA report that I authored in this case, dated April 1, 2021.
And was that report subject to a technical review?
Yes, it was.
And whoever the reviewing analyst was agreed with your
She has a cat
Yes.
named Mr. Mittens at home. Changed my mind.
The big question, what is DNA?
So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and it is the genetic material that is present in all living organisms.
Or a wiener dog named
It is
Charlie.
the
Or
blueprint that
both.
codes for all structures and functions within our bodies. And DNA is inherited, so you receive half of your DNA from your mother and half from your father.
Where is it found?
DNA is found in nearly every cell of the body, and it's the same throughout your body, which is important because that allows us to make comparisons to DNA profiles regardless of which specific source or which specific body.
It's a heavy Polish town, apparently.
So, DNA from saliva and DNA from blood from the same person would match?
Yes.
You're right.
So,
Fluffy
are
does
there
seem like
certain
it.
bodily fluids that are easier to test or better to test?
Yes, so
Y'all, she had that denim jumpsuit dress that every single teacher had in the early 90s. That woman had like 8 of them for different for the love of all that is holy. You know, it is not like we run on time or on purpose. Listen, someone punched someone else in the junk and we have
bodily
to
fluids such as
tell
blood,
mom
semen,
about
and
it.
saliva will be good sources of DNA. So if one of those
I am
bodily
just keeping
fluids
them
is
alive
present, I
until
would generally expect to obtain I
Well,
would
yeah, I
generally
don't want
expect
y'all
to
to hear
obtain a
me
detectable
yelling
amount of
in that,
DNA from that bodily
that
fluid.
mom voice is like, "If you don't get in the car," you know? You turn a bit into Shredder and Darth Vader at the same
So
time.
touch DNA refers to DNA that's left behind on an object after that object is handled. Touch DNA is thought to be from skin cells that rub off onto that item, and we can detect DNA from touched items. However, the amount of DNA that's left behind on a touched item can vary depending on a number of factors. Typically, we would generally expect to find more DNA from a bodily fluid than from touch DNA.
So, all through your body, your DNA is the same.
Yes, it is.
So, what makes DNA useful?
So DNA is useful to us because different people will have identifiable differences in their DNA. With the
That
exception of
works.
identical siblings.
As long as you're
So
crazy
identical
together.
twins will have the same DNA profile, but generally almost
I don't know, she's looking at me and I feel like I have a report that I need to do tomorrow and I haven't even started it. Like, I'm sorry, Miss Fleener. I meant to do the project yesterday. You had 3 weeks. Well, I started to think about it 3 weeks ago and I executed it last night. You can't tell, can you?
almost everybody else will have different DNA profiles, and that allows us to compare the DNA profiles developed from crime scene evidence to the DNA profiles taken from known standards, taken from individuals, in order to try to determine whose DNA is on what.
So, does DNA work like it does on TV, where there's a crime and 15 minutes later there's a identity?
No, it would generally take much longer than that. At our lab, we process crime scene evidence. So evidence that's collected at a crime scene is then shipped down to our lab. And then at that point, we will then begin processing the evidence at our lab for the presence of DNA.
And you get a lot of samples, is that fair to say?
I would agree, yes.
So, how is DNA tested using forensic science?
So when we get an item of evidence that was collected at a crime scene, one of the first things I will do is I will examine that item of evidence for the presence of any bodily fluids that may be relevant to the case. This is commonly looking for any reddish brown staining that may look like blood. Typically, if blood is on an item, that could be very relevant to the case. I can then test any reddish brown staining for the possible presence of blood.
Oh, I'm
And I
sorry.
can take
That
a sample of
stinks.
that on for DNA analysis, in which I attempt to generate a DNA profile from that sample. Once I have my DNA profile, I will then compare that DNA profile to the DNA profiles developed from the DNA standards in the case.
So what's the first thing you do when you receive a piece of evidence?
So when an item is
Well,
submitted to the
let's see here. You missed a baby cop that looked like he was gonna upchuck. You missed, then slightly older brother cop that, had a body worn cam that we actually got to see, in which, I'd say 45 minutes or so, and this is lawyer math, so don't quote me on this. 45 minutes or so, they had Bill and Tiffany talking to a police officer about the theft of the animals, and he expressed, real concern and worry about the animals, explaining, "Hey, some of these are very, very venomous. Some of these are aggressive, dangerous species. You know, I don't want anyone to get hurt." He did express that Riley was ticked off at him, wasn't his best friend kinda thing, but didn't really express fear or any sort of like, "I'm on a vengeance hunting kinda trip, and I'm going to find Riley and make him pay." Oh, and so Bill's T-shirt said, "Y'all need Jesus," as he's doing this, which, just happens to be the most hilariously but sad, unintentional, ironic thing. I mean, we've already had the pimp cane with the frog shoved, well, on the end of it.
the lab, the
So,
first
this
thing that will
trial.
happen is that our evidence technicians will take in the evidence and give that case a crime lab case number. And then each item of evidence that's submitted under that case will get its own crime lab item designation. So this case is crime lab
Oh,
item,
that's right, and
crime
there
lab
was a
case
previous
number
fight where
W20-17.
this is basically where he explains what DNA is and, that the lab doesn't just, like, mix all the DNAs from all the murderers and put them in a big vat. But, yeah, there was a previous fight where Riley threatened, I don't know, it was a verbal fight, it was kinda like, "I'm gonna kick your butt," and then Bill's like, "Okay, whatever," and, Riley was middling, on meth that night, so the medical expert didn't say that it was a lethal level of methamphetamines, but that it was kind of like a middling, like maybe a person who's acclimatized to taking it for the most part, but still can at the level that it could cause aggression, impulsivity, um, you know, failures to read the situation correctly, a bravado, that kind of thing. So basically, all the state's witnesses
The
have been
first
really
item
good for
submitted
the
on the case will be
defense.
item A, second item will be item B, and so on. Once I am assigned the case, I will then pick up those items of evidence and then begin the physical examination looking for bodily fluids.
What steps do you take to develop a DNA profile?
So once I take a sample for DNA, I guess I should back up a little bit there. If I do find any staining that may look like
Yes.
blood, or if I'm taking a sample for possible touch DNA, what I'll commonly do is I'll take a swabbing of the sample. So a swab is just an oversized Q-tip that we moisten with some water. We rub it up against the item of evidence, hoping to transfer any DNA that's on the item of evidence onto the cotton head of that swab. I will then take the cotton from that swab and any DNA that we transferred onto it and attempt to extract or release the DNA that's present. I will then purify that DNA sample and then take a small portion of that to determine how much DNA is present. If we have a sufficient amount of DNA present, I will then attempt to generate a DNA profile. And if we do have a DNA profile, I will then interpret that DNA profile, determine if it's suitable for comparisons, and then make the comparisons to the known standards.
That sounds
What
so
is a
cool, but
profile?
it's so much math.
So a DNA profile is essentially a list of numbers that corresponds to the DNA sample at a specific set of locations that we test for. So the type of DNA analysis that we perform in our
yes.
lab is called STR DNA analysis.
Good catch,
STR
Murph
stands
Turf.
for short tandem repeat, and that short
We have a monthly like stock up at Sam's Club, so I totally get you. With 8 people, it's like it was funny during the pandemic. People are like, "Are you prepping? Are you stocking up?" I'm like, "No, I just have a big family." I swear. Yeah, it's just all sorts of this is
short
a
tandem
swap meet
repeat is
gone
a
crazy.
repeating chunk or repeating segment of DNA that's known to have different numbers of repeats at specific locations within somebody's DNA. So different people can have different numbers of repeats at those locations. So I might have 14 repeats
About
at one
4 loads a
location.
day.
Somebody else might have 16 repeats. And then we test a number of those locations to count how many of those repeats. And that number that corresponds to the number of repeats at each location is the DNA profile. So we develop that DNA profile and get that list of numbers from the evidence. We do the same thing to the DNA standards, and we compare those two, essentially trying to see if they match or not.
What is PCR?
PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction, and it is the method that we use to develop these.
I just
DNA
feel like we're in a
profiles.
classroom with
So the amount of DNA that we
her
recover
and
from a
him, and she's
sample
just
can be a very small amount of DNA, and our
yeah, I
instruments
swear
would
to
not
goodness,
necessarily
these
be able to
children.
detect that small amount of DNA. So we use PCR in order to make many, many, many copies, millions of copies of the DNA that we found.
No, the worst is when you have stomach flu day. So you've got 6 beds you've got to all tear down, you know, plus mom's bed. And look, Mr. Mo and I sleep apart. He snores. I'm an insomniac. Look, I would have smothered him with a pillow, allegedly, um, if something didn't change. So, yeah, there's Sheets day is never a good day. You know, it is a thought. But people are all mean about, like, child protection and such anymore. So, he didn't really claim self-defense, he claimed it was an accident that the gun went off. Now, as not a lawyer, I don't know that you can go accident because I think that automatically takes it down to reckless endangerment or, manslaughter, but I could be wrong. So it's, you know, if you want lawyer watching, there are plenty of LawTube, people that will explaineriate all the things. But at this point, I think he's going with self-defense, sort of, if you can do that, which I don't know that you can, but he's
That
doing
type
it.
of evidence. And we make those copies at those specific locations, those STRs that we test for. And that allows our instruments to be able to detect the DNA.
Do you ever get items that you find no DNA,
Yes, we do.
even though you know they may have been touched by somebody?
Yes, so just because an item has been touched or handled by somebody does not necessarily mean that a detectable amount of DNA would have been transferred to that item.
So, what is it, the quantity of, say, substance that came off your hands that determines if you'll be able to develop a
I'm just
DNA
this
standard?
is a grody
Yep,
line of
that can be
questioning.
one factor. So we need enough cells that contain enough DNA to transfer to that item.
Because I am
for
thinking of
us to
all
be
the
able to,
degenerate
have a
things and
sufficient amount
not
of DNA to
this.
develop a suitable DNA profile that's reliable for comparisons.
Yeah, I don't
If
know
you
what he's trying to
swab,
go for. Maybe they're
an
just trying to knock
area
down the first degree.
on anything, on a gun,
Intentional homicide.
could even the tiniest bit of substance develop a DNA profile?
We can develop DNA profiles from very few number of cells, but the less DNA that's present, the less of a profile we will generally be able to detect. So we
The
do
state's gonna be
want
like,
to
he
find
didn't. He
enough
barely
DNA
touched
for us
the
to
weapon.
detect enough of the DNA profile so that's suitable for comparisons.
So you can determine if somebody touched an item, but you were not going to be able to exactly say where or how often it was touched.
So we can only make conclusions about the DNA that we find on the object as we receive it. We cannot make any determination on how that DNA was put on the object or how that DNA got on the object.
And you don't swab every inch of an item that you get.
Generally not. It obviously depends on the type of item and what was thought to have
All I'm
alleged
thinking of is
appeared to
hotel
be
rooms.
alleged, but we will swab targeted areas.
Yeah, that's kind
that
of where
are
I'm going
most
with it, and I
probative or
don't know
most
how they're
relevant
going
the
to
case.
go
So
with it.
in the case of a shotgun, what areas would you swab?
Typically on guns, we are swabbing areas that are known to be handled by, or known to be touched by the person who's handling the gun. So the hand grip area of the gun, the triggers, the hammers, or really any other area that may be commonly touched. We also
I love it.
swab
You use the word of the day. The word of the
restaurant scene
day
that
today
may
is
be
opine. I
as well.
believe the state's prosecuting attorney,
Can a DNA
Kathy Bates,
profile include DNA
used
from
it
more
at
than
least
one individual?
173 times
Yes,
this
when
morning.
we develop a DNA profile, it's either from a single source, which is DNA from one individual, or it can be a mixture of DNA, so multiple individuals contributed DNA to the sample that we developed.
So
He's over here trying to give us the
does that result in a
blue
DNA
steel from
mixture?
Zoolander stare. I see
Yes,
how you
if
are,
multiple
DNA
individuals
guy.
contribute
It's
DNA
not
to a
going to work
sample,
on
that's
me. I
referred to
am
as a
married.
DNA mixture.
When you come up with a result of DNA, can you age that? Can you tell how long that DNA was on a specific item?
No, generally we don't have any way of determining how long the DNA was on the object before we tested it.
And it's been known that very, very old objects have been determined to have DNA on them. Isn't that correct?
Yes, our DNA can last for many years depending on the storage conditions.
Does that pose some challenges, given that a whole history of touching a certain item could still be on that item?
Yes, the DNA that we detect from an item could be from prior to the incident, it could be from the incident, or it could be from after the incident. We don't have any way of determining how that DNA ended up on the object.
Yeah, he has a nice voice, so that's good.
So how do you make comparisons? You have
She's
a
just
DNA
asking.
profile, or let's say a DNA mixture. What do you do with that?
Yes, so in the case of a single source DNA profile, we just make a direct comparison to the DNA profile that we develop from the evidence to the DNA profile that we develop from the DNA standards. If those two profiles are consistent with each other, then we will perform a statistical analysis on that evidentiary profile in order to estimate roughly how rare or how common that profile is in the general population. And if
I
we
know he
find that that
does.
single source profile is more rare than 1 in 7 trillion individuals, with 7 trillion being roughly 1,000 times the world's population, we will state that that individual is the source of that DNA. Now with DNA mixtures, we have a slightly different way that we can make comparisons to those DNA mixtures, in which we use a software program to help us model.
Listen, he wore a
and
tie.
then
He
help us
wore a
make,
suit. It was not a button down on top of a white
comparison to
wife
it.
beater t-shirt, and some gym shorts.
Statistical analysis
So
then
or a red t-shirt or an orange jumpsuit.
Yes.
At this point, we'll
so like I
take
said
it.
before, for the single source profiles, we will perform a statistical analysis to estimate roughly how rare, how common that profile is in the general population. But in the case of mixture profiles, when we make that comparison, the type of statistical analysis is a little bit different in that we will use that computer program to develop a likelihood ratio, which is just a number that is a level of support for the strength of the comparison. Essentially, the higher the likelihood ratio number is, the more support there is that that person's DNA is present in the mixture. And the lower the number is, the more support there would be that that person's DNA is not present in the mixture.
If you find a DNA sample on a gun, can you
Mike
tell if
Elaine.
it came from blood or saliva or touch?
No. When we develop,
Ma'am, if that was
when we,
saliva on the gun, we have a
extract the
lot of
DNA that's present
other
on the sample that we
questions.
take, we will be extracting any source of DNA, whether it's from blood,
We have a
touch,
whole nother
or
thing
or
altogether.
saliva.
Thank you. I'm gonna get an exhibit sticker. I'm gonna show you what's marked as exhibit 41. I'm just going to leave it in the box. And is this the...
Do not point it at the jury for the love of all that is holy.
Yes, that does appear to be a shotgun that I examined in this case.
Thank you. And there is
And it
actually
has a flashlight.
mounted on the gun as well. Is that correct?
Yes, under the barrel of the gun, there appears to be a flashlight-like device that's mounted to it.
Did you visually see any substances or staining on the gun?
Yes, so on one of the two triggers, there did appear to be a small amount of reddish-brown staining that looked like blood, as well as a smear of some sort of some more reddish-brown staining on the outside of the trigger guard.
Did you see, well, it's a black barrel. Does that make it more challenging to actually see substances?
Yes, so the black barrel in this case,
Maybe,
if there was a
I'm
very
not quite
small
sure.
amount of blood, like if there was a fine mist of blood that was over the barrel, it would be pretty difficult to see that small amount of reddish brown staining due to the color of the material.
So do you recall, or can you tell us which areas of this gun did you swap?
So I
I
ended up
think
swapping,
not.
I believe,
I
8
think the judge was like, what
yes,
the
8
hell are you
different
doing?
areas of
Trying
the
to pull a
gun.
binger in
I
here.
took a swabbing of the right trigger, which is that trigger that I saw some of that that reddish brown staining that looked like blood, as that swab was item H1. I also took a swab of the left trigger as item H2. I took a swabbing of the reddish brown staining that looked like blood on the outside of the trigger guard as item H3. And then I took a swabbing of the hammers as item H4. And then the swabbing of the very end of the barrel of the shotgun. It's like the last inch or so of the end of the barrel as item H5. Also swab the hand grip area as item H6.
And just to clarify, the hand grip area would be down in this area?
Yeah, so the portion of the gun that's behind the trigger.
Ma'am, don't touch this. We've already told you not to touch.
While holding the trigger.
Okay.
And then I swabbed the foregrip area as item H7, which is that wooden block that's under the barrel. And then
Y'all are the
swabbed
prosecution.
the
You should have a
rest of the
clean
barrel
table. There
and
is like
flashlight
crud all over that.
device as item H8.
Now, you were provided with standards in this case as well.
Yes.
And who were those from?
I received standards from William Zelenski, Riley Menente Powell, and Tiffany Powell.
And so does that mean you looked for their DNA on this weapon?
So we will look for any DNA that's on the weapon. We're not necessarily looking for any one specific individual. We will process the DNA on the gun first, determine if any profiles we develop are suitable for comparisons, and then at that point we will make comparisons to the DNA profiles that were detected from the standards.
Were you able to detect DNA on this weapon?
Yes, I was.
And from which areas?
I believe all 8 areas I was able to develop a DNA profile.
Can you tell us if William Zelenski's DNA was on this gun or likely to be on the gun?
Yes, I did make the comparisons to William Zelenski.
And what were your findings?
So from the swabbing of the right trigger, I developed a single source male profile.
Well,
I concluded that William Zelenski is the source of that DNA.
And you
we
said
are all
before that has
shocked.
to be more than 7 trillion?
Mr. William, Mr. Will, I am going to have to ask why you decide to use your tie as a muff. It's off-putting to me because I've never seen any man do that where he hides his hands under his tie, but okay. You know, it's a look, it's you do you.
Yes, so when we performed the statistical analysis on that evidentiary profile, we found that that profile is more rare than 1 in 7 trillion individuals. So I concluded that that William Zelenski is the source of that DNA.
Okay, and then that was on the right trigger.
That's correct.
Okay, what else did you find?
So on the swabbing of the left trigger of the shotgun, I developed a partial low-level 2-person mixture. So 2 different individuals contributed DNA to that mixture. When I compared the DNA profile from William Zelenski, I found that it is at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe this DNA mixture profile if it is a mixture resulting from William Zelenski and 1 other person than if it were a mixture resulting from 2 random unknown people.
And that
Interesting.
was the
Well, our
left
defendant
trigger?
has fallen
Yes, this was
asleep.
from the left trigger. So that provides very strong support for inclusion, or very strong support that DNA from William Zelenski
That makes
is in this
sense.
mixture.
And what was the next item that you had findings on?
I took a swabbing of that reddish-brown staining from the trigger guard of the shotgun. I developed a single source male profile, and I concluded that William Zelenski is the source of that DNA.
On any of those items, the right or left trigger or the trigger guard, were you able to find
I know.
DNA
Yikes.
of Riley Menente Powell?
No, the swabbing of the left trigger of the shotgun, Riley Menente Powell had an uninformative result, meaning that statistical values in that range have been observed both for individuals known to be in a mixture and known to not be in a mixture. Therefore, no conclusion will be made regarding the presence of DNA from Riley Menente Powell to that mixture.
I wonder if it was the mom.
Same conclusion. Tiffany Powell also had an uninformative conclusion to that swabbing from the left trigger.
And then you next did the swabbing of the hammers of the shotgun?
Yes, the swabbing of the hammers of the shotgun. I developed another partial low-level 2-person mixture. So again, 2 different individuals contributed DNA to this mixture. And when I compared the DNA profile from William Zelenski,
Yay!
I again found that it was at least 1 quadrillion
I wanted to
times
see that
more
probable
likely to
cause
observe this DNA
affidavit.
mixture profile
I'll have to
from hammers of the
rewatch.
shotgun if it is a mixture resulting from William Zelenski and 1 other person than if it were a mixture resulting from 2 random unknown people. This provides very strong support for inclusion, or very strong support that DNA from William Zelenski
Yay.
is present in the mixture.
Were you able to find DNA of anyone else known in that mixture on the hammer?
No. So Riley
Oh.
Menente Powell had moderate support for
Well,
exclusion, or
never
moderate
mind.
support that DNA from Riley Menente Powell is not present in the mixture. And Tiffany Powell had another uninformative result.
And the next area you tested H5 was the swabbing at the end of the barrel of the shotgun.
Yes, so the swabbing.
Poor
of the
Baker, he's
end
sick
of the
and he has
barrel
to
of
deal
the
with
shotgun,
sick human
I
beings.
developed a single source male profile, and I concluded that Riley Menente Powell is the source of that DNA.
Now, the medical examiner in this case indicated that the end of the gun would have actually been pressing on Riley Menente Powell's skin when the gun went off. Is that possible to be the source of Riley's DNA at the end of the gun?
That could certainly be possible. Anytime there's contact between an object and skin, it's possible to transfer some DNA through that method as well.
Now, the next area you tested was the hand grip.
Yeah, so the swabbing of the hand grip area of the shotgun, I developed a 4-person mixture. So DNA from 4 different individuals was in that mixture. However, that mixture was not suitable for comparisons, so I did not make any comparisons or further conclusions about that profile.
And then H7 was the foregrip of the shotgun.
The swabbing of the foregrip of the shotgun, I developed a 3-person mixture. So DNA from 3 different individuals was detected in this mixture. When I compared the DNA profile from William Zelenski, I found that it was at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe that DNA mixture profile if it is a mixture resulting from William Zelenski and 2 other people than if it were a mixture resulting from 3 random unknown people.
So I
That
will say,
provides very
Tiri, if you want a better explanation, go to my this morning's first video and go to where they're with the medical examiner. The defense actually had a really good demonstrative where they had a toy rifle that they didn't point at the jury, unlike the prosecutors, but they had electrical tape denoting where Riley's DNA was found on the weapon. So I would recommend you go back there because he did actually a really good job explaining how that got there, how he got shot, where he got shot. It's looking a lot more like it was defense, or I don't know if you can do accidental self-defense, but whatever it's some kind of
strong
not
support for inclusion,
intentional.
or very strong support that DNA from William Zelenski is included in this mixture. I also compared the DNA profile from Riley Menente Powell and found that it is at least 1 quadrillion times more likely to observe this DNA mixture profile if it is a mixture resulting from Riley Menente Powell and 2 other people than if it were a mixture resulting from 3 random unknown people. This also provides very strong support for inclusion, or very strong support.
Thank
that
you,
DNA
Baker. I
from
forgot to
Riley
say
Menente
I forget to
Powell
say all the
is in this
things.
mixture.
And that was the wood piece that's underneath the barrels of the shotgun.
That's correct.
And
Ma'am,
then
you
the
work as a
actual
prosecutor.
barrel and
Learn
flashlight
weapons.
of the shotgun.
So I took a swabbing of the remainder of the barrel and that flashlight device that was on the shotgun, and I developed a 4-person mixture. With this 4-person mixture, I was able to call a major male contributor. So 1 individual contributed the vast majority of DNA to this mixture, and I was able to determine the DNA profile from that 1 individual who contributed the most DNA, and I called that the major male contributor profile. I concluded that Riley Menente Powell is the source of that major male contributor DNA profile. There were at least 3 other individuals in this mixture as part of the minor component. However, that minor component was not suitable for any comparisons.
Oh, and David, you missed that. I think the judge made it unlegal in his courtroom to let the female prosecutor put anyone else in the line of sight of even a BB gun because she just lit up the entire like jury box, the judge, everyone. So she was reduced to using a pimp cane, which had a metallic frog set atop it, and the y'all can go ahead and clip it, but it looked like it was being impaled as the old, Vlad would have done it. So the cyclist trial, I don't even remember. Is that the one where, the crazy lady cyclist decided she was going to stabulate the other chick who the guy really liked and then moved down to Costa Rica to become like a yoga instructor? I don't know. We need to check the tap water, y'all. Maybe fluoride was a bad idea.
So that's not saying it wasn't William Zelenski, there just wasn't enough to compare? Or,
Essentially, yes.
okay. Now, are there explanations, what possibilities are there for Riley Menente Powell's DNA to be on the barrel and the flashlight portion?
Well, it could be from like anything that would provide DNA. So DNA from skin cells as a touched item. Could be from saliva.
Again,
could be
if this
from,
dude's saliva is
any
on the
source of
barrel
DNA.
So if Riley was
of a
at
shotgun, we have a lot more questions.
the business end of the gun and he's yelling, can DNA transfer in that manner?
Yes, if spittle is coming out of your mouth, DNA can transfer through that method.
She is now
Sweat,
saying that
can
the
sweat contain DNA?
Sweat can contain DNA.
Touch can contain DNA?
Yes.
A blood splatter could contain DNA?
Yes.
So there's any number of explanations. You can't determine how Riley's DNA got on the gun, just that it's on the gun. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
And you found Riley's DNA on the actual flashlight portion? Or the
No, not
swab
too
was the
soon.
whole length?
Although
Yeah, so
Courtney
that
Love
swab
has never
was,
been,
most of the length of the
you know,
barrel, other than the very end of it.
held
In
accountable.
addition to that flashlight portion, that was taken all as one sample.
Yeah, it's
So
almost
you
like
can't identify where along.
he could have licked it, he could have spittled on it, or dude could have grabbed the daggone gun. I know we're Yeah, that is what they are floating around, is that he was yelling loudly in a middling methed state that, "Fight me like a man." But, of course, it could be spittle. He could have, had some self-love time and, his hands were a little he didn't wash his hands. Lady, ma'am, miss, come on now. You have done nothing this entire trial but goof things up, Kathy Bates from the beginning of Misery.
On the barrel the DNA came from.
No, I cannot.
When you process the gun, are there
This morning, thus far, what I've seen, the defense has done a wonderful job of really using demonstratives well, and I didn't realize what he was doing at first, but he's got one of those big whiteboards with, like, the giant paper thing, and as he's going through witnesses, he's adding timestamps to things. So, the witness before this was, not baby cop, but middle brother cop, and it shows about 45 minutes before this all went down, he was worried more about the animals. He wasn't, going out hunting Riley. It didn't show like he had any animus towards him. Now, the state would played it as, well, he wasn't afraid of Riley, and we're not sure if he was armed because it came out with that particular testimony that Riley had also stolen weapons from him. So Yeah,
there
it's
other parts of the crime lab that also process
definitely
it?
been effective with
Yes,
him
there
putting
are
in the
other units in the
timestamps and
crime
seeing
lab.
just how quickly
What
this all
order?
happened.
Does it go in?
So the order will depend on what type of analysis is needed, as well as the type of surface and the type of analysis that is wanted to be done on that item. So for this item, it also was processed, I believe, for fingerprints. So when DNA and fingerprints will work together and try to determine the best order to work the item. Obviously, if I take a swab and rub it up against the item, I may destroy any fingerprints that are there. So I will tend not to work or swab any large smooth areas of an item. I will tend to stick to smaller textured surfaces that are not very good for fingerprints. So I believe for this particular item, I took my first 5 swabbings first. The item then went to the identification unit for fingerprint analysis. It then came back to me, and I took my remaining 3 swabs at that point.
And were
Okay.
you aware they didn't find
He
any
had
fingerprints?
so the defendant has also been better about not being in all caps with his face, though he's still doing that really weird thing where he's resting his hands underneath his tie like a weirdo. I mean, the dude already looks strange. Don't put your hands under your tie like a complete weirdo.
I believe I was aware of that, yes.
Yeah. So is there anything in the fingerprint process that could interfere with your job looking for DNA?
So part of the processing of fingerprints, as I understand it, I'm not a fingerprint analyst, and I've not been trained in that, but my understanding is that they use
Okay, then why are you
super glue
testifying
cleaning
about it?
routinely, in addition to a dye stain that's misted over the item, and that could potentially interfere with the DNA process, in that the super glue may trap some of the DNA, and the dye stain may potentially wash away some DNA, but it's not going to harm the DNA or transform it into something that's unusable. As long as we can physically swab up the DNA from the item, we can still use it for the DNA analysis.
So it's not possible for that process or any other process at your lab.
Yeah, she's definitely the person that, there was a
Make
clear and
DNA
concise
look like
message being
somebody.
given, and she is asking all the question that have already been explained at least 3 times in the directive and going off into tangents.
Analysis.
No, that's not
You're
possible.
welcome to come on anytime, Baker, and be our body language
So
analysis
are there
person.
presumptive and confirmatory tests in your process?
Yes, so when we do our blood testing, our lab uses 2 different tests for blood. One is referred to as a presumptive test for blood, and that's the type of test that we more routinely use at our lab. It takes a very small amount of sample, and it's a
If
very
this dude
quick
ever wants to get
test.
out of,
However, we call it a
sciencing,
presumptive
he
test
could
because
just
there
do
are other
those
substances
sleep
out there that
hypnosis,
could
like calming
potentially induce a
videos.
positive result, even if blood were not present.
That
This
is
could be
my
some things
definition
like
of hell.
rust or
Always
some
the last
vegetable
one final
extracts could
question,
potentially
and it's
cause a
never.
positive result, even if blood were not there. We also have a confirmatory test available to us that will identify the presence of blood. However, we don't routinely use that one because it takes more sample and takes a longer time.
And just as a final question to clarify, DNA is a tool, but it doesn't give us all the answers. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Are you sure about that,
Thank you, Your
ma'am?
Honor.
Mr. Scott, I want to start with something that you testified about near the end of your direct, and understanding that you're not a fingerprint expert. You
I'm telling
testified
you,
don't-
there's a reason I'm not going
your
to be a
understanding
lawyer.
was that
I'd
there
say
was
that
no
wrong all the
fingerprints.
time.
My understanding that there were no fingerprints suitable for comparisons. Anything beyond that, I would not know.
So, and are you aware that in looking at fingerprints, they look at friction ridge detail?
The term sounds familiar to me, but I'm not a fingerprint expert.
So you have no idea why they weren't able to determine fingerprints anywhere on the gun?
Correct. I have no idea why.
So nobody's fingerprints were found on the gun,
She just sounds
to
weird.
your understanding.
It's my understanding that there were no fingerprints found that were suitable for comparisons.
If you want to put the question up, I can put
So
it
there
up for
could have
you,
been fingerprints on there,
Murphs.
they just couldn't have
I just
determined
can't
whose
remember
they
what it
were.
is, to be very honest
I
with
have
you.
no idea, but that sounds like a good statement to me.
You testified about the presumptive and I think confirmatory tests for blood.
Yes.
And you did.
I believe
presumptive
he's a
test
public
on all the
defender,
swab.
but I will double check with that. Oh.
No.
Okay, never
So-
mind.
I performed the presumptive test, I believe, on
Of course it
on
does.
4 or 5 of the swabs, and then the confirmatory tests on the other ones.
But you were able to make determinations that blood was not detected on several of the swabs.
Yes, so from each of the 8 swabbings that I took, I did test each of those swabs for the presence of blood.
And on several of them, you did not detect any blood.
That's correct.
When I talk
Way to
about
go,
those,
defense, making
the
sure that the spittle
foregrip
blood.
was one of them that you did the presumptive test for blood.
Just to clarify, the swabbing of the foregrip of the shotgun was one that I actually performed only the confirmatory test for blood, and that test was negative. So I concluded that blood was not detected on the swabbing from the foregrip of the shotgun.
So
No, I had to get off. In the morning, I had to get off to do some chores and help with laundry and run someone to the pool because walking a quarter of a mile is just beyond horrible. So, I picked a middle of, or the end of one witness, and I was going to come in and finish up this morning bit, and then we are going to speed run, probably at 1.25 speed, unless it's something interesting and not foundational. Salvador and I are going to speed run the afternoon, so I have time for families in the afternoon. I will probably do the mornings, like I have been doing, and then speed run in the night, and then Delphi videos. That way I can stay on track in those. Okay, so this is the defense attorney question. And if you want to come on, David, or we can talk about this at a roundup at some point. I can screenshot. I can star it. I know how to do this. Yeah, I was just trying to stay with my pledge to do mornings during the day and then evenings at night.
confirms that blood was not detected on the foregrip.
Oh, correct. The test was negative, so blood was not detected.
And that's the same with the barrel and the flashlight swab.
Yes, the item H8 swabbing, that swabbing of most of the barrel and the flashlight, that test was also negative.
Pretty much.
And I concluded that blood was not detected from that swabbing.
So based on that test, if you were able to determine a DNA profile from those areas, it wasn't from blood.
I wouldn't be able to say that definitively. There's always the chance that there could be such a small amount of blood on that swab that it was below our test's limit of detection, or even maybe there was blood on one part of the swab.
That's
but
kind of
not
what
the
I
other, so
thought. I
that
didn't
small
think it would
part
get
that I
him home
tested
free,
for
but it would
blood
get him
wasn't
to
part of that
manslaughter.
blood
But
was
as I said, I am
present
only
on,
a mo
but
on the
my
internet
test
with,
was negative,
we're just
so I
pre-law,
certainly would not
pre-med,
expect a large amount of
pre-real
blood
estate
in that
here.
swab.
And you testified earlier about the amount of DNA left in a substance can vary.
Yes,
And blood is a really good source for it.
yes.
And if blood is a really good source and there's a lot of DNA, you might expect to find blood somewhere.
I mean, generally if blood is present, we would expect to find a detectable amount of DNA from that blood.
I will have
But
to
what I'm
look at the
saying is if
charging
you were able to
documents. Murph's
determine a
Turf
detectable amount
found
of
them for
DNA that
me.
you could test,
I am mainly here for the Walmart swap meet family trees that are a circle shenanigans of the whole thing, but I will definitely check that out for you guys. And yeah, that's definitely kind of where I was going, but I will have to look at the charging document to see what they are actually getting him for. And I mean, the victim stole his Patron. I mean, we have learned from the Travis Rudolph case that the theft of a liquor bottle can result in both assault and battery.
if it was from blood, you would expect to get a positive result of blood being found.
Can you please clarify that?
Sure, and maybe I'm asking it in a confusing way. If somebody's blood were on an object that you tested and you were able to get a DNA profile from there, it would be a lot of DNA that you were able to extract, correct?
Well, if there is blood on an object, I would expect there to be DNA from that blood as well.
And from that sample, if you were able to determine a DNA profile, if it was from blood, you would expect then your
Hey, cool.
test for blood to be positive.
I am not sure about that. As far as the lower limits of detection for our testing, I'm not sure which one would be negative first, whether it's DNA or the blood test.
But what we do know for sure is that your test did not detect any blood on the foregrip
Correct, that test was negative.
or the barrel and the flashlight.
That's correct.
And at the very end of the barrel, the last 1 inch, there was blood detected.
Yes, blood was identified on that swabbing of the very end of the barrel.
And that was the one that was confirmed to be blood.
Yes, that's right.
The other areas were presumed to be blood.
Well, David, you're forgetting that between direct and redirect on the very first witness, the jury already wanted to start deliberating. They were so bored. This case has been in all the S shows. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. It seems fairly clear what you have, but this might have been a case where things happened and we definitely needed to show that we were tough on crime or something.
Yeah, so the swabbing of the right trigger of the shotgun, that very first swab I took, and the swabbing of the reddish-brown staining on the trigger guard of the shotgun, both of those had presumptive positive tests for blood.
And so those were the other areas where you were potentially detecting blood.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned with respect to touch DNA that the amount of DNA left behind can vary given certain circumstances.
Yes.
So if I were to just touch that folder, I could leave some DNA behind.
It's possible, yes.
And there's things related to touch that could impact how much DNA is left behind.
Yes.
You mentioned it's really about skin cells that rub off on an object.
That's one method that's thought to be what touch DNA is, yes.
And so if, for example, I rub it more, you would expect
phrasing.
more DNA to be left behind.
In general, yes.
Because friction can cause more DNA to be left behind.
Oh, for the
I would
love of
believe so.
Cheetos.
And pressure as well.
I believe so, yes.
If I touch it lightly, I might not leave a lot of DNA behind.
Correct. I would generally expect an object that's
Phrasing,
more regularly
people.
handled to have more DNA left behind than an object that's only briefly touched once.
And if I press it really hard, it might leave behind more DNA.
That's
These
possible.
jokes are writing themselves. It's after 2
The
hours, but
duration of touch could also determine how much
it's
DNA is left behind.
I believe
it's such
so,
a
yes.
slow pitch.
The longer you touch an object, the more DNA could be left behind.
Yes, especially the more it's handled or the more
Listen,
prolonged
the more you
contact.
touch and rub an object, the more you're
And
going to
when you
leave your
combine
DNA
all of
somewhere and you
those,
might have a child.
Longer
Just
duration,
stop.
more pressure, and more friction, all of that can combine to leave behind
This
more
is as
DNA.
uncomfortable as the
Yes.
shoulder pad Mormon from Jody.
Grabbing an object and trying to pull it might cause some of that pressure and friction.
I believe that's possible.
If I'm holding on to an object and you try to grab it away from me, that
Sir, be
could
very
result
careful
in
with
me
your
leaving
hand
more
motions
DNA
right now.
on the parts
We
I
are
was
a bunch of degenerates.
I believe that's possible.
And particularly if I'm holding on to the object tight, right?
Yes, I believe that's possible.
Because as it's being pulled away from me, it would cause more friction to rub onto that object.
I am 12
Sounds
years old.
reasonable.
This is hilarious. It's also the
And
reason I
your
can't go to
experience,
Lowe's
you
anymore.
testified that friction and pressure could result in DNA
Salvador,
being
he's
left
trying to
behind,
kill
right?
us.
It's possible, yes.
And you would expect to see more DNA left behind the more pressure and friction there is than a simple touch.
In
That's it.
general, I
I'm
would
done.
expect that,
Y'all,
yes.
I'm dead. He's killed me. I can't. Well, if nothing else, if you had to come to from the terrible Baker probable cause affidavit, hopefully this friction, pressure, rubbing, and DNA course has lightened your mood, and it is what it is. Maybe it's our 12-year-old sense of humor has brightened your day just a little bit.
Now, when we look back to the foregrip of the shotgun, you testify.
That was foregrip,
that was
you
a mixture of DNA.
degenerates.
Yes, that's correct.
And at least 2 males, correct?
Yes, so this was a 3-person mixture, and at least 2 of those 3 individuals were male. It could be all 3, it could be just 2, but we know that there's at least 2 males.
And when we compare that to, for example, the swabbing of the hammer.
Indigo, because you're
Swabbing of the
hilarious.
hammer
So are
is
we. We're
a
just
low-level 2-person mixture, right?
we can't be trusted with funny
that's
words.
And on the foregrip, it was a 3-person mixture.
That's correct.
It wasn't a low-level mixture.
Well, with 3 people, what in the court TV? But this is the demonstrative that I think is really good. I guess they just went into evening, and I'll stop it. But David, this is the demonstrative I thought was, well, it looks like they went straight into afternoon. But basically, he's been filling out this timeline as he goes through with each witness. And this is good because I can keep it for when we start the evening stream, where we'll be kind of speed running it with Salvador, hopefully having fun. And that starts at 7 my time, which is the same as David's time, which I believe is Central. I don't know. Indiana was smart for years and years, and they stayed the hell out of this daylight savings time. And then they got into the daylight savings time, and it's just a horrible, bad thing to do. You do not need to do that. But that was the morning of the Wild Bill exotic animals slash murder slash defense slash all of the things. And thanks for Murph's Turfs for getting us Oh, we're Eastern time. Thank you, Jamie. You know, I know some things. I don't know other adult things. If that works out correct for you, look, it is nearly 4 o'clock my time. So if it is 3 o'clock your time, then or nearly 3 o'clock, then that is correct. Yeah, I don't know times. I, I used to could wake up in the morning and know what I was going to do in the day, but now I've got wild feral children. Oh, well, I'm getting ready to end this stream. If you want to come on in, let me copy and we will get some legal advice from a real, in fact, lawyer. I know, not one of the fake ones like me. I am learning all the things. I can just send a link all the way. There you go. And we can get some. Where in the world did I go? Oh, there I went. And I sent you a link on Twitter. You know, it's already been a day. We've got testicles of fury over here, which was actual tentacles of fury because good lord. The youngest, most feral found extra hosing that my husband didn't need to use to fix the washing machine, and he was shouting out, "Oh, yeah, I'll do that too." But yeah, we had testicles/tentacles of fury, so and everyone is all the boys are trying to give each other wet willies or nut punches, and I'm sure, it is I just have to keep them alive, y'all. So I will see you guys tonight, 7 o'clock. Salvador and David will probably pop up, and we will do this at 1.25 speed. Thus far, the prosecution seems to be doing nothing to help their case. I'm not sure if that is just what it is, but yeah, he definitely seems to just not just they don't seem to be very prepared. I will see you all later tonight. We will have fun. It's a more relaxed stream, and I can do some laundry because my life revolves around it. I will see you guys later. Have fun. Let's see if there's anyone. Let me go to YouTube. Of my 873 tabs, let's see if I can find YouTube as a tab and see if there's anyone I can shift you to. Let's see here. My channel. I am doing this one. Yeah, I don't see anyone. Let me go back though, because I am probably most likely and in all honesty doing this wrong because, you know, we are always the awesomest ever. All right. Well, I don't see anyone, but that's also because I might not be looking in the right place. But oh, yes. I will see you all later. And Legal Vices is live, but I don't think I'm we'll figure it out. Well, by the end of the year, I'm gonna be just like Neo from freaking uh what you call it, The Matrix. I will see you all later. I've got to go figure out what we're gonna make these children for dinner and what I'm gonna have that has no carbs in it. Probably vodka. I will see you guys later. Bye.